All right, what's up guys? Devin is here and we're starting to get into a little bit cooler nights. Fall is right around the corner. So I wanted to do a video showing you guys some of the very best tips and tricks to bring our houseplants back inside safely. Now, a few months ago, I had posted a video all about what to do bringing your houseplants outside for the summer, and I got a lot of requests for a video about what to do for bringing them indoors. So in this video, I will be giving my 5 best pieces of advice in order to safely bring our plants back inside. So if you've been enjoying your houseplants outside all summer, you have hopefully witnessed some incredible explosions of growth like I have. This is my philodendron pink princess right here, which has like doubled in size in the last couple months. It's so fun. And my mangave is absolutely stunning and thrilling. Okay, so first thing to note is the temperature. That is, of course, the number one thing that we need to be aware of is the nighttime temperatures. So a lot of the plants that we grow inside as houseplants, a general rule of thumb is like 45 degrees is that cutoff. So when I start to see in the forecast temperatures dipping into the around 50, that is my cue. I want to bring them inside because I don't want to risk my beautiful, precious plants at all. You know, sunburn is one thing on our house plants, but frost damage is much worse. So when you start to see those temperatures kind of hit that 50-degree temperature threshold, that means it's time to bring them inside. Now, the process of bringing them inside, you really want to give yourself about, I would say, 5 to 7 days in order to safely bring them inside, pest-free and healthy and acclimated, ready for your indoor garden setting. Just like it took about a week to bring our houseplants outside, give yourself a week to bring them back inside. So now that we know what temperature we need to really be aware of, let's move on to pests. So pests are the one thing that people are absolutely so scared of when it comes to growing our house plants outside. They're like, I don't want pests, I don't want to bring them inside. And I get it, having some pests outside, not a big deal, but having them inside where they can easily move around and go from one plant to the next, it can be a scary mentality. But it's really not that hard to protect our plants. I have about 50 plants I'm going to be bringing outside, so it's a little bit of work. But if you have 5, 10, 15 plants to bring them inside, it's not going to take more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day for 5 days in order to really get your plants prepped. So what I like to use one of two things, either insecticidal soap, which is what I have right here, or horticultural oil. Now the reason I like those two types of pest protection is they're pretty natural. So like you can spray your plants and bring them inside and you're not going to be spreading all of these sort of chemicals that you might use outside. These are pretty harmless, and if you spray them and bring them inside and there's still some residual, it's not going to do you any harm. So that's like my number one reason why I like insecticidal soaps and horticultural oils, is because they are pretty darn safe. Secondly, when it comes to indoor pests, most of us are familiar with like aphids, spider mites, and mealybugs. Those are kind of, for me at least, those are the 3 main culprits I've witnessed. And those 3 pests are all what are called sucking pests, because they like bite into the flesh of the foliage and they start to suck away all that life force, all of that vitality, and that often causes yellowing of leaves, spots, or even webbing from like a bad infestation of spider mites, for instance. And but the thing is, those are all soft-bodied pests. And by using an insecticidal soap, when this contacts with their bodies, it dries them out and they die in that sense, in that way. A horticultural oil, it will actually like clog their capacity to breathe, and so they choke. So both of those types of sprays, applications, are going to be the most effective for our houseplants, bringing them inside. Other pests that are chewing pests, like beetles or caterpillars, those are typically large enough that while we're doing our inspections and spraying with our sprays, we'll be able to manually remove any sort of large pests that might leave chewing damage. So we're not really concerned with beetles and caterpillars, those sort of things, because we're actually just going to use our hands to get rid of those. Okay, so now that we know what kind of applications we're going to use, we're going to do one pre-step before we do our spraying, before I show you guys how to spray it with our hoses. Now this involves just giving them a nice kind of rough spray. And this is also going to help just kind of eliminate any sort of larger pests, larger bugs that might be residing in there. And because you're going to be watering your plants pretty heavily by doing this, definitely best to do this part in the morning at the beginning of that 5 to 7 day time frame that we're providing ourselves, so that they have a chance to utilize that water and dry out a little bit before we bring them inside. Okay, so now that you've sprayed down your plants with water, next we're going to apply our sprays. Now it's best to do them once you've given your plants a chance to dry, for their foliage to dry. That's going to help this to be the most effective. So these plants I had already previously sprayed, and they are prepped and ready to go. So when it comes to actually using these, like I was mentioning, these sprays work on contact. So they really have to they have to touch the pests in order to work. So you need to do a great job spraying both the fronts and the backs. It's definitely best to use gloves just for extra protection for yourself when doing this. I will make sure to thoroughly wash my hands afterwards. So you want to do both the front and the back of every single leaf. Now, for plants like this gorgeous anthurium and this desert rose, it's really not hard to get all the tops and bottoms of every single leaf, because they're not so full of foliage. But if you have a plant like this gardenia, which has tons of leaves and it's absolutely very prone to pests, it's so important that you spray over the course of a few days, really trying to get into every nook and cranny. And for that reason, we're going to do this foliar application to all of our plants for 5 days in a row. Not only are we going to spray the leaves, but we're also going to spray the foliage. We're also going to spray the soil just for some added protection. And during the course of those 5 days of spraying the tops and bottoms, fronts and backs, lefts and rights of every leaf and the soil, that should be a pretty good way to keep your plants protected, bringing them indoors safely and pest-free. So my third tip is acclimation. Now we're going to do this acclimation period at the same time that we're doing that foliar spray with our insecticidal soaps or hort oils, because this is also something best to do over the course of 5 days or so. So do them together. And what I mean by acclimation is really and truly just bringing your plants out of those areas where they were getting a lot of sunlight to somewhere that is more protected with less sunlight. Because as we move them inside, they're going to be receiving a lot less light. Even if you're using additional grow lights, which I absolutely recommend, by having much less sunlight, some of your plants can get shocked. Not all of them, but some of them will. So I'm going to be putting all of my house plants on this north-facing porch for about 5 days. I'll come out here, I'll spray every day, and over that 5 to 7 days, they're going to just become more used to a less sunny environment. Okay, and then the fourth tip is this is an absolutely great time to do any pruning or cleaning before bringing our plants back inside. A lot of our plants have exploded in growth, so it's time to give them a thorough checking to see if there's anything we can do to clean them up. Like this variegated fern I have, it's getting a little bit of overgrowth, so I'm going to use this opportunity to just kind of rip away some of this old bottom foliage that really isn't serving the plant very well anymore. Now, while this is a great time to do any sort of cleaning and pruning, it's not a great time to do repotting. That's definitely best time for the spring, just before we're bringing our plants outside. And the reason is because once we're bringing our plants inside, they're going to be having much less sunlight, and therefore they're just not going to be growing as actively. So it's not a great time to repot. Unless something is super root bound and is just like, about to break the pot, then of course, go ahead and do it. What do you think? I think that looks much better. A little bit neater. I don't know where I'm going to fit all my plants, to be honest. We'll see. And then the final point is just a change in the cultural care that we're going to be giving our plants. All summer I'd come out here, just kind of splash water onto these plants. I don't really care how much water I'm giving them, quite a lot all the time, and they're staying moist, they're happy, it's hot out, it's humid out, they love it. Well, we're not going to be having those sort of conditions inside the home now, are we? If we continue to water our plants the same amount, they're going to be staying too moist, too long. That is a great equation for fungus gnats, and I don't want fungus gnats. It's also a great equation for rot, and we don't want that either. So we're definitely going to be watering our plants less, but we're also going to be fertilizing our plants less. For the simple equation that with less sunlight and less water means less growth, and if we're continuing to give them fertilizer every 10, 14 days, it's going to be a buildup of too much fertilizer in that soil, which can definitely lead to detriment, including burning of the plant's roots, which will lead to a very unhappy plant. So, bottom line is we're going to be cutting down on our water, cutting down on our fertilizers as well. Okay? So with all of that in mind, now you have the 5 basic steps to successfully bring our plants back inside so that we can enjoy all of that explosive growth that our plants had over the summer months. If you have any comments or your own experiences of things that you do to your plants before bringing them inside, please leave them in the comment section below. That's how we build our plant vibrations community, by sharing all of the knowledge and wisdom that each and every one of us has acquired through our cumulative many years of being plant lovers. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me here on Plant Vibrations. I will catch you soon. Ciao.